takes a toss sweep, steps up, fires for the end zone. The pass is going to be knocked away, incomplete, and Tennessee has won in overtime.
In Tennessee.
So the Vols escape in overtime, 20-13, come out on top in week 1. 1-0, that's all that matters. You're listening to Talkin VAWLS, episode number 2. My name is Boogie Bentley, joined as I always am by Jason Phillips and Snake D.A. Boys, it was a rough one, but anytime you come out of that first week with a win, it's a good day on Rocky Top. What were your thoughts on the week 1 game against Appalachian State?
Well, I'm not so sure I feel too good about it, even though you said it's a good day. I'll tell you what, we talked about this earlier, and for me, it was painful. That was the one word I could use to sum it up. Watching from the stands, I got to go to the game. It was tough to watch, guys.
Very, very frustrating. Wasn't anything like most of us, I believe, had expected. Just a poor overall performance and very lucky to win that game. I mean, as many miscues that Tennessee had and the game plan that obviously the coaches, I felt like, was very, very basic, almost cost them that game and very easily could have. But like Boogie said, 1-0, moving on.
Well, that's something we talked about on episode 1 here at Talkin VAWLS. We talked about, did we think they would come out and run a vanilla offense? What would they show? We kind of talked about wanting to see them throw the ball downfield. There was no success whatsoever doing that other than the one throw to Josh Malone, big touchdown pass. But other than that, very vanilla. But at what point in that game, you can say that so much. At what point do you say, okay, it's time to turn it up a notch. We have to get the ball in the end zone to win this game. And I feel like there was never that sense of urgency.
Yeah, at least not till the fourth quarter. I mean, it seemed like the whole first half especially, we were just run, screen pretty much.
Yeah, and really, if you chart those plays, we actually threw the ball less in the second half than we did in the first half. It's just really concerning to me. I just don't feel like DeBoard and Butch have the trust to put the game in Dobbs's hands when they need to throw the ball. It just it's really concerning to me. It's been that way ever since Dobbs has been the quarterback. And I'll tell you, I am concerned moving forward.
Well, to me, it's not even just throwing the ball. I think we all know that this offense clicks and this offense runs when Dobbs uses his feet to make plays. And did we see a single designed run where Dobbs kept the ball? Obviously, he had the run in overtime where he took a huge hit, fumbles into the end zone, Hurd falls on it. The football gods were shining down on Tennessee Thursday night because that play could have been a disaster, but instead turns out to be a touchdown and the Vols come out on top. But did we even see a single design keep for Dobbs all night long?
I don't think that there was many of them for sure. I do remember in the first quarter there was a run and play, and I actually went back and watched it, and Dobbs actually read the defense wrong. It was one of those plays that Kamara was in the slot and came in front of him right as they were snapping the ball, and with the option to hand it off to Kamara. Going around the left end, and if he had handed it off to Alvin Kamara, he would probably still be running. But Dobbs kept the ball that time and ran right into the meat of where Appalachian State was actually blitzing.
I honestly didn't think we would spend this much time talking about Appalachian State on episode 2 of Talkin VAWLS, but the way the game went, it's something we're going to have to discuss. But on the other hand, I do want to bring up this Appy State team. I know I gave the big homer prediction last week and said Tennessee was going to run all over them. But when you look at it on paper, one of the polls has Appy State ranked ahead of 5 SEC opponents that we're going to face this year. That's Texas A&M, Kentucky, Vandy, South Carolina, and Missouri. Not only that, Virginia Tech is only ranked just a few spots ahead of this Appy State football team. So, yes, Tennessee should have gone in and taken care of business better than they did. But at the same time, this Appy State team is not a pushover. But Snake, what are your main concerns coming out of week one? What is the one thing that really stuck out that the Tennessee Vols have to improve on before we go up to Bristol this weekend and face Virginia Tech?
Well, I mean, pick your poison from that game. I think, first of all, is offensive line, interior offensive line. I thought that Coleman Thomas, Dylan Wiseman, maybe Jason Robertson, they had a very difficult time blocking up front against a smaller lineup, defensive front from Appy State, and the linebackers were too quick for them. We did a lot of, moving around of those guys trying to get, some on the backside, and Dylan Wiseman just could not catch up to those people. And obviously, we've got to do a better job on turnovers too. We can't fumble the ball 4 times and hope that we recover in the end zone to beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and that was one thing, last year that Tennessee done really good is they didn't have a whole lot of turnovers and fumbles. So certainly that's a concern. I think that's a product of the light hitting that Tennessee done in fall camp because Jones felt like that he knew what he had and trying to keep these players healthy. Another concern for me, and it's really concerning, was the lack of mental toughness that this Tennessee team seemed to have showed on Thursday night. There was a comment there in the second quarter that the team was still over there on the sidelines talking about that Preston Williams touchdown that was overturned. Guys, you cannot do that. You have got to. And Butch Jones, you hear it all the time, snap and clear, snap and clear. But certainly they did not do that, and that's a worrisome to me as well, is because I was hoping that there would be some leadership that would make those guys forget those plays and go back out there and make a play.
Yeah,
I think we know it. So,
I think there were three times. The Preston Williams drop is one, the Sutton fumble on the first drive for Appy State on the punt return, and the Maben ejection. I think all 3 of those. I think initially when Maben got ejected, he kind of fired up the defense, but overall, I don't think the team responded well to all 3 of those instances.
I agree with that completely. Felt like that we got down. I think we started pressing, and I think the coaches pressed, and that's something that's been questioned about this coaching staff, especially after those fourth quarter blown leads last year. I think the coaching staff presses. I think it just goes back to they don't have a real good feel with Dobbs throwing the football.
We've been very negative so far, but you have to be. You have to be. All 3 of us thought they were going to go in, they were going to whip this Appalachian State football team. We were going to be celebrating, talking about how bad Tennessee was going to beat Virginia Tech this week and how they were going to go whip Ohio, and then we were going to be going to play Florida 3-0. Now there's some concerns going up to the battle at Bristol, but let's flip it a little bit. Let's talk about positives. What are some positive things you guys took out of this game? For me, the play of Cortez McDowell stepping in for Jalen Reeves-Maben after he was ejected, I think Cortez really stepped up and did a good job. I don't think he was a world beater by any means. He wasn't all SEC, but I think he did a good job stepping in, filling that hole. Definitely felt the impact of losing Maben, but I think Cortez McDowell did a good job playing football on Thursday night.
Yeah, I thought Kirkland and Cortez McDowell, I thought they did a pretty decent job at linebacker. It was good to see him get in and make some plays. I think it took him a little while to get going. But I had a few positives. I think Micah Abernathy played a good game. I thought actually that Preston Williams started out hot. I thought he played a good game at the first half. I don't know what happened in the second half, but I think Josh Malone stepping up, getting that big 67-yard touchdown pass, that was a positive. Kicking game was good. Trevor Daniel, I think, punted well. Medley made his kicks.
How about this? How about not only did he punt well, how about he saved the game with that tackle. Yeah,
exactly.
He doesn't make that tackle. They return that punt, and I think that's the ball game right there. He doesn't make that tackle.
No doubt. And we've been dogging the offensive line, but honestly, I thought Drew Richmond stepped up and played a good game. I thought I was pretty impressed with him.
Yeah, I don't think it was a too awful bad game for Richmond, considering the struggles that the interior of the offensive line had. I thought that Derek Barnett, even though on the stat sheet he didn't get any sacks or anything, I think that he was in the backfield a lot. I know that Appalachian State didn't throw a whole lot, but I think that it bodes well. I think that he's fully healthy, and I think he's going to have a big year. I think he'll be key for us coming up there Saturday in Bristol.
I got a ton of feedback from our fans on the first episode of Talkin VAWLS. I'm going to try to blow through these really quick before we move on. So you can send us your feedback after the game at Bristol this week. You can hit us up, facebook.com/TalkinVAWLS, VAWLS, or you can shoot us a message on Twitter. It's at Talking VAWLS. Again, it's VAWLS _pod, POD. Let us know your thoughts on the game, and we'll talk about it on the show. I'm going to try to blow through these really fast, guys. We've got a bunch. Larry Kirkland on Facebook says, well, the Appy State team was good. Everyone knew that, but we survived, and we'll be ready for Virginia Tech. Jeremy Davis says, watching football all day, everyone looks like they're getting jitters out. Respect the process, and let's see what happens in Bristol. Justin Greer says, Appy State had a good offensive scheme with lots of counters and misdirections that negated our size and speed. Obviously, losing JRM hurt the defense. Meredith Hawk says, pretty much what I expected. Close game, but expected better O-line play. Dobbs had no time after the snap. Rocky Manus says, sometimes you just take your win, count your blessings, and move on. I like this man's confidence. We will drill Virginia Tech this week. One last comment here from Colby Fleming. Let me find it. I got everything all sorted out here. He says, I don't have any real quotes, but everybody just needs to, in all capital letters, relax. It's the first game of the season. A lot of hype for this year, especially next week. And look how other teams fared this weekend. Lots of comments. Again, guys, shoot us a message on Twitter or Facebook, either one. But let's go ahead and move forward. Actually, before we get into Virginia Tech, JP is going to jump in here with the recruiting roundup. What do you have for us this week, JP?
Recruiting. Brick by brick. Then it's recruiting. You're going to see a lot of individuals hovered around a fax machine. Again, it's all about relationships. The ability to come in and compete right away is true freshman. The recruiting process. The University of Tennessee, we are the state institution of Tennessee.
This week I'm going to hit on a couple of commits that committed back there in July. They're actually twin brothers out of the Tidewater, Virginia area. Brayon and Brandon Gaddy. Both of these players are defensive linemen. Brayon's a 4-star, 6'4", 335 pounds. Pretty agile guy. There's actually a video on YouTube of this guy dunking a basketball. So he certainly, to be as big as he is appears to be athletic. So that's certainly a plus. His brother Brandon, he's a 3-star recruit, not as highly sought after, but he's not as big as far as weight wise, 6'5", 285. So certainly he has the frame that you would think that he could put some more weight on if Tennessee looks to do that once he gets here. He actually plays tight end for their team up there in the Tidewater area. So playing tight end, you would think that he would be pretty athletic as well. Not a whole lot of stats out on him right now after a couple of games. Both of them have a couple of sacks each and some tackles for losses. They didn't play a whole lot this past Friday night. The team they were playing wasn't much competition, so they really didn't have to play. So we're going to continue to watch them, and certainly, as we all know, that college football, in particular the SEC, is a line of scrimmage league. We saw that Thursday night with the struggles that Tennessee had. So both the offense and the defense line is very important. So it's going to be good to get these big bodies in there, and hopefully that they can help Tennessee out over the next 4 or 5 years. I wanted to also hit on Ty Chandler. Spoke about him last week. He only had 10 carries Friday night, but 4 of them went for touchdowns. So the guy,
wow.
yeah, Yeah, he continues to have a strong start to his senior year. And Lamont Wade, talked about him, the defensive back from Pennsylvania. He did make it in on the unofficial visit Thursday night, and he is scheduled to come back for the Florida game for an official visit. What's interesting to note is he tweeted out yesterday, I believe it was, that he wasn't going to take any more interviews, phone calls, media questions, anything like that about his recruitment, that he was basically wasn't going to talk about it anymore. That could be good news for Tennessee. You think he came on an unofficial visit, he's scheduled to come back in a couple of weeks for the Florida game, and just out of the blue he says that he's not going to talk to anybody else about it. He could be silent. Who knows?
I wasn't going to go this direction until just now you talking about him coming in for that visit. And it made me, my mind's just kind of shifting directions here. We heard some boo birds in the stands Thursday night in Knoxville. And that's something, I kind of want to get your all's opinion on it before I give my opinion. I want you guys, I don't want to sway your opinion. Snake, you go first. Number one, have you ever booed our team in Neyland Stadium? And yes or no, whatever the answer is, what are your thoughts on fans doing that?
Yeah, I have, and I'm not necessarily. A lot of times, if that happens, I think it's more booing the the coaching staff or something like that, or maybe some player getting out of hand or something. But I don't know. I've never actually booed the players. You know, I'm booing the situation they're put in, basically. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but sometimes you get caught up in the moment. You know, this weekend. The energy was there before the game. Everyone was hyped up, excited. You know, there's a lot of anticipation for the season to start, and then we come out and we run this vanilla offense, and we're just diving for 2 yards if we can get it, and throwing out in the flat, and trying some screens and stuff like that. Not giving. I think I feel like everyone else that was there. We're not giving Dobbs a chance to get out there and win the game. It didn't seem like so. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it happens.
What about you, JP? What are your thoughts on the boo birds? I've been to games with you. I would almost lay money that you have booed at a Tennessee game before.
I have, but not a lot, actually.
Why am I not surprised?
Well, because, you know, I follow the recruiting aspect of it, too. Quite a bit, and I don't think that looks good, but I'm like DA said, I understand it, and I think it is more booing towards the coaching staff and the decisions that they're making and what they're putting our team and our players in the positions that they're putting them in. I think that's where the frustration, and like he said, there was so much hype build up, there was so much anticipation, top 10 ranked team for the first time in years, all this energy and emotion and everything, and then we come out and play absolutely horrible, just a horrible. And the players played bad, but I'm telling you, especially on the offensive side, the offensive coaching staff, this was DeBoer's worst game. I mean, his play calling was just abysmal. I mean, it was absolutely horrible.
Well, you mentioned the recruiting aspect, and that's kind of my thought process here. And also, you have those kids on the field playing. And the reason I asked is several of the players tweeted out, and that you could tell were offended by the boos. I think Khalil McKenzie may have been one of them that said, you know, those boos really make us want to play a whole lot harder in Neyland Stadium. You know, so whether you're booing the coach or the players or whatever, I think overall there's nothing good comes out of booing the team that we root for every single Saturday. So that's kind of why I brought that up. But
well, I mean, you talk about the offensive play calling was terrible, but I mean, we didn't have a single sack in that game as far as I know.
We did. But really, DA, I think that was more the offense that Appalachian State was running. I mean, you have to give them credit. They had a really great game plan. I think that they used Tennessee's aggression and their speed against Tennessee. They never ran towards Barnett. Most of the plays was against him, and all of their passes, which they only, I think, completed. I don't know how many completions they had. Actually, I don't have stats here with me, but I think it was 108 yards that they passed for, something like that. So, but they got the ball out of the quarterback's hand quick.
Yeah, a lot of misdirection and a lot of quick passes.
Something I was going to say is, because I'm going to disagree with JP and his play calling. We're just going to agree to disagree. I'm going to have to suspend myself from social media on Saturdays and on game days because I see these people and they immediately attack the coaching staff or they start attacking people, and I get on and I wear my emotions on my sleeve and I start commenting and say things, and then I feel bad for it later. But to me, you can question DeBoer's play calling Thursday night. That's fine. You can question it. But when Coleman Thomas is getting whipped up front all night long, what would you call? What are you going to call a pass play 15, 20 yards downfield? Dobbs was running for his life all night long. So that kind of limits you as a play caller and makes your decisions extremely tough. Now, where I agree with you is DeBoer, I think they ran the ball. It was like 95% of the time on first down. You got to mix up the play calling. But we're rambling on Appy State. We got to move on. Huge game for us that we've been talking about. We have been talking about for years. The battle at Bristol this Saturday, Tennessee versus Virginia Tech. You guys know this game's special to me because Virginia Tech and Georgia hold that special place of evil in my heart. But JP, explain to me what this game means to you, why it's important to you. Is it the 150,000 fans, the largest crowd ever in attendance at a college football game, or just what makes this game so special?
To me, what makes it special is the pride, state pride. We're close to Blacksburg, a couple hours away or so. We work with a lot of Virginia Tech people that either went to school there or just fans of them. So there's more to it from being up here in Northeast Tennessee than just being a game against an ACC opponent. And the fact is that it's going to be the largest college football game in the history, 160,000 people. It's just going to be a unique atmosphere and those type of things. And this is going to be a game that both schools is going to look at for years to come. And you just want a W beside Tennessee's name instead of an L.
Yeah, I agree. Like JP said, our geography really puts us in a special situation maybe for some of these fans that aren't in this area, but we are almost, 2 hours away from Blacksburg and an hour and a half away from Knoxville. So, the fan base, we're around both fan bases, I think, up here where we are. And I work with almost half and half Tennessee and versus Virginia Tech fans, and even at work there's a wall painted with Virginia Tech's logo on it because Tennessee lost to them last time they played. So hopefully the Volunteers can come out with a win and paint over that with a big power T.
That's what I was going to ask you. So if Tennessee wins, does that get repainted? Because if so, can I somehow get a visitor's pass to come down and paint that wall with you? Well, let's talk about this Virginia Tech team and how exactly we think Tennessee matches up with them. Watching that first game, Virginia Tech versus what was it, Liberty? I mean, come on. I wasn't impressed.
Competition wasn't any good.
No, and Virginia Tech started off slow, but they did pick up in the second half, into the second quarter, second half, and they took care of business and got the win with ease. The number one concern for me, the kid that stood out to me was Isaiah Ford, the wide receiver number one. The kid had 11 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown, but he's not a real big kid. I think he's around 6'2", 6'3", but he's very, very physical. JP, you sent me a text during the game and said this kid reminds you of Michael Irvin, but that was because he pushes off every other play. But I think Cam Sutton, I think our corners, DBs, can step up and contain this kid. But what are your concerns, or what do you think matchup-wise going into that Virginia Tech game?
Well, I'm I'm hopeful that we're going to play a lot more nickel, which I think that we will. Their Thursday night with App State running a lot more than they did passing. We were in the 4-3 defense. I think that Tennessee has much better personnel to run the 4-2-5. I think that when you got Rashawn Golden out there playing nickelback, it just brings a lot more physicality to it and just a lot better athlete. So certainly the defensive backs, Sutton and Mosley, Justin Martin, those guys are going to have to be physical with those wide receivers. They've also got that 6'7" guy, Bucky something. I can't think of his last name. Hodges, yeah.
He's tight end, right?
Yeah, but they were actually splitting him out and using him as a wide receiver there on Saturday, and basically just throwing jump balls up to him. So that's a concern, definitely. Anytime you got somebody 6'6", 6'7" out there, even though that Tennessee has decent size at the cornerback position, if Cam Sutton is playing their best one, Isaiah Ford, then that's going to leave a huge mismatch there for either Mosley, Justin Martin, trying to cover that Bucky Hodges kid.
Not to go too far backwards, but I just want to praise the defense in the Appy State game. Some people weren't happy with the way they played. They gave up a lot of yards on the ground, but that's what Appy State does. We talked all about that Cox kid in episode 1. What a good running back he is, and he's going to be in the NFL. The kid's a great athlete, but Tennessee gave up the touchdown after the fumble. I think they struggled there. After they gave up that touchdown, I thought they really dug in and played well and only gave up 6 points the rest of the game. But, I just want to praise that defense for digging in and playing solid in the second half. But, Snake, what are your thoughts going into the Battle at Bristol matchup-wise?
I'm the same as JP. I'm worried about the passing game. It's going to kind of be a flip-flop from the Appy State game, I think.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech's going to come out and challenge our DBs, and Emmanuel Mosley was kind of silent, I think, in the Appy State game, which is a good thing for me. And I hope we don't hear much about him in the Virginia Tech game with if they're putting Bucky Hodges up against those guys that are not Cam Sutton. Basically, there's everybody, and then there's Cam Sutton on our team. That's the way I see it, and it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Tennessee plays that with that Bucky Hodges, because that's them playing against anybody has to be concerning with that guy as big as he is, and I don't know how much they're going to play him at tight end versus splitting him out wide. But what I watched of that game there Saturday, he played out wide most of the time that I was watching it. And the key to me for Tennessee on Saturday, that quarterback, Jared Evans, that was his first, college game. He's a JUCO transfer. He was actually the number 1 rated JUCO dual threat quarterback coming out last year. But he looked pretty good, had pretty good touch on the ball, and ended up with 4 touchdowns, but wasn't really getting too much pressure. I don't think Virginia Tech's offensive line is very good either. At least they've got issues up front. The key is going to be getting pressure on that kid and trying to rattle him, because he hasn't seen anything, hopefully, like he's going to see Saturday.
See, my concerns are on the complete opposite side of the ball. I think this Tennessee defense is going to do fine. I think they may force a couple turnovers. I'm more concerned with how healthy is Dobbs? Are the ribs, you don't sit down in a press conference and say, oh, they're fine. If you're good, you say, I'm 100%. I'm ready to go. I'll see you on the field Saturday. Fine doesn't make me feel very comfortable. How healthy is Dobbs? Are they going to use him more in the run game? Can these wide receivers get separation? Because I think Virginia Tech is going to come up. They're going to play press coverage. They're going to be in your face. And you got to get off press coverage, which Tennessee wide receivers have not proven that they can do that.
True.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern, and I've got those same concerns because, like you said earlier, this offense does nothing without the run threat of Josh Dobbs. If you don't run him and at least give that threat, this offense is not any good. I mean, it's just plain and simple.
For some reason, we have two great running backs in Jalen Hurd and Alvin Kamara, and for some reason, all we're worried about is Josh Dobbs being able to run the ball, because it doesn't seem like out of this set, whatever this offense that they're running, that our running backs really have much of a chance to break loose or to do anything more than pound a couple of yards out.
No, this scheme does not work unless it doesn't work unless the quarterback runs the football. Otherwise, it does absolutely nothing. And I think we saw that when Worley was at quarterback. That was the biggest problem on offense, was you knew Worley wasn't going to keep the ball, so they could just key, and the offense does not work unless the quarterback runs the football.
Yeah.
But we're getting up to the end of this thing, so let's go ahead and talk predictions for the battle at Bristol. I think Snake had to go first last week, so does that mean I get to put JP on the spot and make him jump out with his prediction first, and then Snake can change the score?
I'll feed off of his prediction this week.
You can change it by a point or two and just say, oh, yeah, that's what I think. JP, you're on the spot, buddy. What's your prediction for the battle at Bristol?
Can we have a healthy Josh Dobbs prediction and a not healthy Josh Dobbs prediction?
No, sirree. You get one prediction, and that's it, buddy.
Okay. All right. Well, I think Josh Dobbs is hurting more than Tennessee is going to let on, and that's very concerning to me, because I think that they may try to go in with the same game plan that we did against App State, and that is try to protect him, which means him less running the football. If that's the case, and this is just me being a Tennessee homer, plain and simple, because with my head, I think if that's the case, Virginia Tech wins, but I can't give them and say that they're going to win. So I'm going 17-16 Tennessee.
Oh,
wow.
My word. How things change in 1 week, because 1 week ago we're talking about how they're going to come out and just whip Virginia Tech and then whip Ohio and then be going in to play that Florida game. I'll go next. I'll let Snake go last here. I want to say that Dobbs is healthy enough to go out there and compete. I think he was on the practice field. Oh man, I'm struggling so much because I'm like you.
Well, keep in mind we're recording this early in the week too, so maybe by the end of the week everybody will know a little bit more than we know right now.
That's true, yeah. But it's just like we just talked about. I think Dobbs being able to run the football is key for this team to succeed.
It's a must.
However, I think this defense is going to take care of business. I think they played a good game against Appy State. Again, the fumble by Cam Sutton really hurt them. He redeemed himself with the pick later in the game. I think Virginia Tech played kind of sloppy against Liberty in the first half, had several turnovers. So I think this Tennessee defense is going to force a few turnovers. I think Tennessee's going to win this game. It's going to be a little closer than I would like, but I'm going to say 20-14 Tennessee gets the job done at the Battle of Bristol.
Wow, you guys are really looking for another defensive battle down in the trenches, aren't you? Yeah, I'm looking for Josh Dobbs to come out. I think that the coaches are going to open up the playbook a little bit more for him in Virginia Tech, and hopefully we won't get in the same situation we were in against Appy State. I'm hoping that we can contain those wide receivers and then contain some quarterback scrambles and get the job done on defense. I'm picking Tennessee, and I think it's going to be a pretty close game, but I'm picking a little bit higher score than you guys. I say 31-24 Vols.
If you're listening to this podcast, tweet us your picks. Send it to @TalkinVAWLS_pod, #TalkinVAWLS. Let us know what you think the score is going to be for the Battle at Bristol. But that's going to wrap up episode 2 for Jason Phillips and Snake DA. My name is Boogie Bentley. Thank you guys for listening, and go Big Orange.